Imagine it's an early Saturday morning and you're 8 years old. The generations before you would have been waking up for their morning cartoons, but you have another mission, something much more urgent. Today's the day your favorite YouTuber always posts new animation memes on. So you're huddled up on your bed, earbuds connected to your tablet as the video finally loads. Before the animation plays, however, your favorite YouTuber's avatar shows up on screen and they tell you about this super cool new website. A digital safe haven for you and all the other kids with nowhere else to turn. A space full of other artists and members of the fandom communities you love, along with a massive roleplay community where you can bring your OC to life. Your favorite creator even has their own community on this site, and if you make an account now, you can join it too. You will have the chance to actually talk to them and meet them. So you go to the website and make an account, confronted with hundreds of communities to browse and post in. That is Amino. Hello, I bring breaking news today. News so massive I had to push back my FNAF script to make this video instead real quick. And that news is the death of Amino, an early Christmas present to all the chronically online children of the 2010s. If you somehow don't know what Amino is, which seriously, if you don't, I envy you so much, then let me give a brief summary of the app. You know Reddit and how it's a social platform that holds various things called subreddits that each contain content for separate communities? And you know Tumblr with its more fandom-y culture? Imagine a platform that combines aspects of both these sites into one platform, with its own separate subgroups for each fandom, while also having public chat rooms, many used for roleplay groups, user-created quizzes, wiki sections, and much, much more. That is Amino, released in 2012 as a website. Then around 2014, some of the more popular Aminos began getting their own individual apps, with it finally getting a main app you could browse every Amino on in 2016. The app became extremely popular, especially with the art and fandom sites of the internet, as it was extremely made for fandom, having millions of extremely active users. However, on December 12, 2025, many would wake up to find the app gone from app stores and the site completely shut down. Many people posted celebrating its downfall. This video intends to be a quick retrospective from the perspective of someone who actually used Amino for years and during its golden era. Before I get into the actual video, I would like to warn that the video will discuss the topics on screen. Please take a moment to look and click off if any of these topics aren't something you can handle. In a later part of this video, I will also be briefly sharing my own experiences with Amino. Though, as I just said, it will be brief because I am not intending the trauma dump in a stupid art video, as I was on the app myself during its prime and thought it would be nostalgic to talk about. From the introduction, you may wonder how Amino became so widely hated. Well, there are many issues I did not bring up in my brief introduction on the app, and now is the time where I'll talk about them. Another big detail about Amino is that it was a self-moderated platform, meaning that instead of having the developers moderate things, it was the user base in charge of moderating each other and handling any issues that occurred. When someone creates an Amino, they are put in charge of selecting moderators and admin to assist them in moderating it. The developer is not really playing a big role in keeping the platform safe. Self-moderation has never been the most reliable form of moderation, as it's essentially just letting the users run loose, expecting some of them to step up and watch/police the others. This does work occasionally on other platforms, but that's when it's mostly adults on the platform. And this leads to our second major issue about Amino, the demographic they target. As I mentioned in the intro, when Amino was first starting to get its name out there, it relied heavily on YouTube sponsorships. This isn't uncommon, as many companies do business with bigger YouTubers to advertise their name. A lot of the YouTubers who would do these sponsorships also use the site themselves, often having their own dedicated Aminos. You begin to realize the issue when you look at the age demographic of these user bases, however, mostly being children and teenagers, with Amino targeting communities such as the animation meme community and the art commentary community. There were quite a few big names who did these sponsorships, having subscriber counts ranging from the hundreds of thousands to millions, only bringing in God knows how many children into the site. For literally any place on the internet, when there's a massive influx of unsupervised children joining any platform, especially one with little to no real moderation, there's only one type of monster that attracts. I don't think it takes a genius to know what I mean. So when the user base is mostly children and predators, with the platform also being user moderated, that creates a breeding ground for disaster. And similarly to Tumblr, Amino also had a massive porn bot issue, with many users often being sent links that contained malware or just generally being scammed by these bots. Within the art side of Amino, there was also a trading community that relied upon another unique feature of the app. There were these things called Amino coins that users could transfer to each other, earned by either logging in every day or spending real money to have coins added to your account. Many users would use these coins to pay each other for goods, such as commissions, OCs, video game items, or any other sort of service. Basically just anything you could think of they were used to trade for. And when there's any sort of selling or trading going on literally anything, there's guaranteed to be scammers, with Amino's poor moderation only worsening the issue. Also, a little editing note here, as I genuinely never saw this happen myself, but while researching for this video, I've been made aware that apparently at some point there may or may not have been an issue of people selling illegal digital content for Amino coins. While I did not see this happen myself, with other stuff I have seen, I would not be shocked if this was true. Anyways, back to the video. Whenever trading is thrown into the mix of literally anything, communities become toxic very fast. And this is especially true for Amino, which was already toxic even in spaces that didn't utilize trading much. As Amino was mostly full of children and teenagers who are not the most mature group of people, it was, of course, a toxic place where people would bully each other and be mean to each other and be petty and all that teenage bullshit. So yeah, Amino, already toxic, then adds another group known for being toxic. That creates toxicity. A lot of it. While Amino did have some upsides with its unique features and being a platform specifically geared towards the more fandom-y side of the internet, all the cons weighed the app down before everything slowly fell apart. As the original users got older, they eventually abandoned the app. Very few users still on Amino before it had finally shut down. An app with a unique premise and unique features is nothing without a positive community. An app could have everything a fandom kid could dream of, but without a good community behind it, those features are meaningless. While people may have stayed for how unique the app was, the community and the lack of proper moderation ultimately led to its downfall. I've never met a single person who's used Amino without having some sort of horror story, which I am no exception to. I got Amino during that weird transition period of 2014 to 2016, when they didn't have an official app yet, but instead some of the specific larger Aminos did have their own apps, while it was still mostly a website-based platform. The method I found Amino on was actually through one of those YouTube sponsorships I talked about earlier. But since I didn't know how the website worked and the YouTubers Amino didn't have its own app, I mostly stuck to Aminos like the Arts and OCs Amino and later on the Undertale AU Amino. While I never directly stated my age on the app, I did not lie about it either. I did not claim to be older than I was. And for context, this is the art style I had back then, along with being horrifically bad at spelling during this time frame. I only bring this up because I believe it's relevant so you're aware that during these stories I share, it was extremely obvious to the adults interacting with me that I was a child. They never bothered asking for my age anyways, and a lot of the stuff they did wouldn't have been okay even if I was an adult during this. Now, a lot of my memories of my time on Amino are extremely blurred, so I don't have that many stories I remember well enough to tell. As far as I remember, I did not experience any grooming on Amino, but I still have my own stories regardless. I'm still going to keep these stories brief, however, as I'm not dumb enough to go into full detail on a public platform, and none of these people were anyone with any sort of platform outside of Amino anyways, which I don't even know if they remained active on. Anyways, for the main story, I was a very active user of the public roleplay chat rooms. I would wake up hours before school just to start roleplaying with other users. I'd sneak my phone out during recess just to read more of the roleplay and keep myself caught up with it. I was absolutely obsessed with it. There was this one guy who joined one of these chats a while after I had, claiming to be in his 20s. He would interact with my character rather often, and eventually asked to move to private messages to roleplay with just our characters. I eventually ended up agreeing because I was excited someone liked my character so much, and things began to take a weird turn. While I enjoyed more horror and action-themed roleplays, this guy kept trying to move things into a romantic setting, which I'd always steer away from and move back into the action. Eventually, he flat out made his OC confess to my OC, and after my OC said no, he sent me a video link. And as a dumb child, I clicked the link, which led me to an actual real gore video. And when I got off of it, I was met with a detailed description of his character offing himself just like the man in the video. I ended up blocking him immediately after that, along with reporting him, though I do not remember if anything actually happened to him after that. I have other smaller stories, but nothing as extreme ever happened after that story. I didn't really accept private messages often, even before that, mostly because outside of the role-playing, I was a rather anxious child who was scared of talking to people. But I'd still see the occasional private message request asking to e-date or saying other generally weird and nasty things. Along with this one dude who I was friended with who would constantly make posts suicide baiting and eventually just ended up in my PMs with me often needing to come for him and talk him out of offering himself when he was much older than me. I still consider myself lucky in these stories, especially with the far worse stories I've heard. I'm thankful I didn't experience any sort of extreme trauma or actual grooming. While Amino was a very unique app with all its features, it had some massive child safety issues, and likely won't be missed by the majority of users. This app may make me nostalgic, but part of me feels relieved by it shutting down, knowing no more children will be put into danger because of it, and god fucking damn it. In all seriousness, thank you for watching. Please consider joining my Discord server linked in the description. And I got more cool fan art. This is by The Lost Artist, who requested I also shout out their Instagram, @thelost_artist_official. Please give them love and support. I absolutely love receiving fan art, and I hope all of you have a wonderful day or night.